one of Europe's top strikers, has been for a decade now, and I know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would love to keep him, but the word is that he wants to go back to South America. That's virtually set in stone, so Man United will miss out on him next season.
We really hope you like this video. Just subscribe, like, and click the bell to be notified of more content just like this. Delighted to welcome Charlie McCann from Gibraltar, John Richardson from the Moon, or Chester, or wherever he works. He's looking even more tanned. And Rico, the great thing about it, Steve Bruce, not only manager of the month now, manager of the year, surely.
Yeah, well, he was shocked because somebody said to him in the week, I know somebody was speaking to him, hey, you could be manager of the month. And he started laughing. He said, no, you look at the results. It's, oh, no, Pep Guardiola. No, it'd be you. It'd be you. And there he is, Brucey. I'll tell you what, absolutely delighted for him. Absolutely delighted for him because we all know him. He's a fantastic bloke, criticised some of the tactics during the season, but deep down, really pleased for him.
But at the same time as well, which, listen, I'm with you all the way. But you can imagine Newcastle fans going, oh, hang on, he's manager of the month. He's going to be manager next year now when they've spent the whole season trying to get rid of him.
Yeah, well, I think this summer's going to be quite interesting because the takeover is sort of simmering under the surface and could erupt in the next few weeks, the Saudi Arabian business. So I think there's a lot of mileage in that this summer. So we just don't know. But if Mike Ashley is still in charge, and obviously Steve Bruce, he wants Steve Bruce to be in charge. Now, whether Brucey actually is in charge, that could be very interesting.
It'd probably be the new Spurs manager, Charlie.
Yeah, well, that's sort of gone all quiet, hasn't it? I think everyone thought that with getting rid of Mourinho, that they had somebody sort of lined up, and then of course Ryan Mason was given the job, and that was a really poor performance. I couldn't be bothered that it was 1-0. That was, you can imagine City have got one eye on the Champions League. What they thought, God, a blood and thunder cup final. No, it wasn't. It was a sort of not a walk in the Wembley Park, but that was another disappointing Spurs display. It really, really was, and sets City up very nicely for the Champions League window.
If Jose Mourinho had been in charge of that side on Sunday, it'd have been absolutely slaughtered. I thought Tottenham's tactics were worse than negative. They were awful. I mean, I thought Harry Kane at times playing at centre half. He was so deep. I mean, they just didn't show up, and that's Ryan Mason. But talking on the Tottenham manager, I think it will be Erik ten Hag from Ajax. I think he's the favourite. Told you Nagelsmann was going to Bayern Munich. And
yes, yep.
That's scuppered.
Confirmed, yeah.
Tottenham's plans. So I think the favourite is Erik ten Hag, although they still haven't given up, on our Leicester man. But Brendan says he's staying. So
John, are you suggesting that Rodgers would be the elected choice? Would his first choice?
I wouldn't say his first choice, Charlie. He's definitely on the short list. I think he's been sounded out whether he would be interested or not. And according to information, he said no, he wants to stay at Leicester. If that job is available in the summer, that might be a different issue, because
that Ajax manager must be good if he can get Davy Klaassen to score 2 on take my word for it. Or either that or the Standard. I know they're 13 points clear, but God.
He has got a good reputation. I wouldn't be surprised.
Of course, I'm only kidding, but I did notice that Davy Klaassen, who pulled up few trees, should we say, in the Premier League, got both goals at the weekend.
Charlie, did you see much of the European stuff in the Champions League and of course the Europa League as well?
Yeah, and it looks as if it's going to be Premier League versus Premier League versus Premier League versus Premier League. I think Arsenal can turn that round with that late goal. I thought teams played quite poorly in certain areas tactically and things like that. Ceballos is bonkers, isn't he? He's been an accident waiting to happen. How Villarreal didn't sort of, but Saka and Pepe, to a less extent, got them out of jail. Manchester United, yeah, maybe had a bit of fortune, but just to come from 2-1 down, to score 6 against Roma. Roma must really look forward to going to Old Trafford, blimey.
Yeah.
And the Champions League stuff was good. I thought Chelsea controlled, and if you go to Paris and you control, okay, it's 1-1, but they have the away goal. I was very impressed, I must say. I thought Chelsea, and I think about 5 or 6 weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, we suggested on here that if Manchester City were not going to win the 4-timer, I think I certainly said that I thought Chelsea would be the threats and they would win one of the cups, either the FA Cup. They were out of the League Cup, of course, at the time, either the FA Cup or the Champions League. Well, it's possible they could win both. But I do think it will be all Premier League final in both. And our friend Bruno Fernandes was sort of Bruno Fernandes bits of, very good player. But, it's just hard, I think, as a neutral to warm to him. Although I actually love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and admire Manchester United style, and I enjoyed that. I must say, I thought they were good.
I know we've talked about Edison Cavani, whether he's going to stay or whether we care whether he stays or not. But I missed a trick at the time because I actually think he is a sensational player now at 34. I would have loved to see him pomp at 24 or maybe 27. Because I don't know about you, Rick. I for a 34-year-old, the way he runs, the way he tries, I just think he's brilliant.
He's one of Europe's top strikers, has been for a decade now, and I know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would love to keep him, but the word is that he wants to go back to South America. That's virtually set in stone. So Man United will miss out on him next season. Yeah. You look at his age, you think, oh, another season. Yeah, he does the business, doesn't he?
But he doesn't play. He doesn't play every week.
No, he has been injured. He's been
He's been injured. Yeah,
he's been injured. But last weekend they had a big game, and he was substituting that as well. Whether they think he can only play once, I just do still think they need a striker.
Yeah, without question, I agree with you with that. I'm just saying, just looking at him. You've seen him for Uruguay and what have you, but I just think, gosh.
But if United get this top class sort of young striker, and we've discussed who it could be earlier, that means that Mason Greenwood and to a lesser extent Marcus Rashford go down the pecking order. Of course, if they get rid of Martial, which you would imagine they would want to try and do, it's just, let's say, for want of just throwing a name out there, Haaland in, Martial out. That, I suppose, you could. There is a way for Cavani to play, but he wants a lot of wages for somebody who's not going to be the first choice.
I agree with that.
And Haaland wants to play every week. And if Harry Kane came, Harry Kane would want to play every week. So where does Cavani play?
Yeah, no. Listen, I'm not disputing that. All I'm saying is, I just think he's a good player, and I think he's a good
striker. That's for sure.
I've got to throw in, Rico, as well, that Paul Pogba was pretty good last night. Your favourite player.
Oh, well, that must have been his one game then. I suppose that'll put another £100,000 a week on his wages when Raiola talks. I'm sorry, I'm not having it. I mean, Paul Pogba, yeah, every now and then, but it's all about him, isn't it? All about him all the time. Just forget it. Man United's bigger than any individual player, as we've seen over the years. So, anyway, moving on to football.
Spinazzola, the left back, the last one on the game, Spinazzola, the left back for Roma, looked to me like he was going to win the game own until he went off. I mean, once again, I've not seen bags of him, but I don't know what you thought of him in the cameo. Bearing in mind they had 3 went off before half time.
I mean, I only saw glimpses because I'm not a Europa League fan. I mean, it's like the equivalent of the FA Vars for me. So we move back to the proper European football, the Champions.
Yeah, well, okay, we can do that. Where we mentioned, as we tend to do on the show, way ahead of anyone else, about Tammy Abraham, and it sounds like certainly in the papers, Tammy might be available for sale, mainly. And then other people are saying, well, Timo Werner. I mean, he scored against West Ham. He missed a dodgy one, and then he's played against Real Madrid, and he missed a sitter, didn't he? Where are we with Timo? Do you think, Rico, for Chelsea?
I'm a Timo Werner fan. I know he misses so many chances, but he brings other things to Chelsea. He's so fast. I mean, when they're playing on the break, you can't catch him. So if you look at the assists, they're better than the goals. I mean, he's been shocking in front of the goal, and he's had some of the misses of the season, hasn't he? Some appalling ones for both club and country. But you just feel that if he gets a few goals, he's going to go on to get like 30 goals. I think there's goals in him. It's not bad luck because it's just bad finishing. But I think that Chelsea will stick with him because of what he gives to the club, and hoping that he'll come good, because it's one of those that you're fearful that if you sell him to somebody else, then he's going to get back. Say they sell him to Liverpool because Jurgen Klopp's a big admirer. So he went to Liverpool, started getting 25, 30 goals a season. There's be a few embarrassed people at Chelsea. So I'm sticking with him, but I can understand the criticism.
Charlie?
He's got pace to burn. He's blessed with extraordinary pace. There comes a time though when you have to sort of cut your losses. I don't think he's ever going to be a great goal scorer. He may be occasionally a scorer of great goals, but no, he's not going to be a great goal scorer. That Chelsea team to me is becoming very, very strong. Mount keeps going. Pulisic is now beginning to get over that hamstring that he had in the FA Cup semi-final. He's looking more and more the real deal. I hope I'm not too patriotic, having spoken about Mason Greenwood previously and I'm not wanting his route going forward. But I do think that if Abraham had as many chances as Werner, then I think he would have scored more goals. Whether, as John said, he certainly on the break, he's blessed with an electric pace. But I'm sorry, there's just something about Abraham for me. I think if he went to somebody else, then Chelsea are going to look back and they're going to say, wow, this is somebody who we nurtured. We sent on loan to Aston Villa, came back, played for us, and we got rid of him. Because I think he, more than Timo Werner, could be a 20 Premier League goal a season man.
Rico, we've talked about Mason Mount. I have to say, every time I see Mason Mount, he seems to get better and better. I mean, he steps up for England. He plays well. Champions League. It's not belief. He's obviously got the ability, but he almost looks like I want to be the main man. I was so impressed with him the other night, I've got to say.
Well, we've got to vote in the next couple of weeks for our Football of the Year, and it won't be Bruno Fernandes because I can't stand him. I just don't. I mean,
call it as it is, Rico.
he's a good player, but there's something about him. He snarls, and also, did you read this week? He wants to become the Manchester United manager in the future. Well, yeah. Look on that one, mate. Good luck on that one. I mean, he'll start an argument in an empty telephone box, wouldn't he? I know he's not popular with his teammates, etc., etc. He's a decent player, but I can't put a tick next to his name. So Mason Mount is somebody I'm considering because you forget he's only 22, isn't he? He's mature beyond his years. He's a leader. He assumes responsibility. He's got everything. He's improving all the time. He's a good all-round player. He's good just outside his own area. He's good in the opposite area. His passing is superb. He scores goals. Yeah, he's going from strength to strength.
John, who is your three?
Go on, I was just going to say. I was going to say to you, Charlie, that is he as good as Phil Foden? That'll be my next one. But yeah, go on.
Not quite for me.
Yeah. Well,
not quite.
This is a left field one. This John Stones, only for the reason that this is a guy that was written off in the summer, supposed to be going. He almost went to Chelsea. He's had real criticism, and I think he's risen above that to become a very good player. Now, you could argue he's not the best player in the season. I accept that, but
of course he's not.
I just like the story behind him. So there's that. The lad
So
along.
he gets sent off against in the League Cup final for an appalling challenge. He's made at least one major rick in the last fortnight. I can't have that whatsoever.
Anyway, I was going to say in my defence, Charlie, the lad alongside him, Diaz, is the real deal.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing that John normally this team could win the Champions League, the FA Cup, not the FA Cup, the League Cup, the Premier League. And I was going to say it's almost universal that because they've been such a good team, I don't think one of their players will win, which is a surprise. I think Mount is Grealish would have been for me up to his injury. I think it's a fascinating. I tried to get it. Betting without Gylfi Sigurdsson is the market because Gylfi is so popular. And then I tried to get Theo, and it was betting without Gylfi and Theo because they've lit the Premier League up this season. But getting back to if Grealish was fit, could we go into the Euros with Mount, Foden, and Grealish?
Yeah, he's in my England team. Those three are in my England team.
That leaves out Sterling and Rashford.
Yeah, Rashford for me is a good impact player coming off the bench. I don't think he's got it for 90 minutes. There's something just lacking for me. Excellent player, not knocking that at all. Sterling's form is a worry. Because I think most people a few months ago, Sterling would be one of the first picks. But obviously, Pep's not picking him. His form's I wouldn't say dive, but it's below par. So that's going to change people's lineups. Are we going to talk about Pep, by the way? How we almost messed it up? Or I was
going to say the opposite. I was going to say, surely you've got to tip your hat and say, after a very indifferent first half.
The opposite.
Hang on. The other thing I've got to say is, PSG came out of this European Super League with sort of everybody going, "Oh, well done, PSG. They didn't want to break away." But apologies to all PSG fans, but they're a very difficult side to like, I find, and I think they reverted to type towards in the second half against Manchester City. Not least Neymar, who. You want to believe he's the greatest player in the world, but he does let himself down, and Mbappe didn't get a kick. You've surely got to tip your hat to Pep there, Rico.
No, he got out of jail. The tactics in the first half, he was obviously telling both fullbacks don't go over the halfway line. That was allowing PSG to come on to Man City. They should have been 3 or 4-0 at half-time. They should have been away with the game. Then second half, PSG are very flaky. So if you score against them, everything seems to go off. The wheels come off. And then they start getting naughty, Neymar starts diving or, trying to get people sent off. And in the end, City should have won by 3 or 4-1. So it was that's a cliche, it was a tale of two halves. But, to say that Pep was a master tactician is ridiculous. As he did against Lyon last season, he got it completely wrong in the first half. Second half, okay, he came to his senses, and they deserved it in the end. But they could have been out 3 or 4-0. So don't give me that Pep's the great tactician. Sorry, I'm not having it.
Charlie,
it was a cliche, a sort of game of two halves. It's a strange thing, but I just couldn't have Paris to beat Manchester City over 2 legs. I just couldn't. I just can't have them. At all, if you've got, with Idrissa Gana Gueye, who's a yellow card waiting to happen, and he's obviously a fine player. He's a fine player for it. I need a couple of centre backs. It's just not as good a team, and I think the big thing is a team, unless the big two have extraordinary games, and it's possible, of course.
It is possible, isn't it? With those two, it is possible.
It is possible, but that apart, Manchester City are a team. You have these wonderful De Bruyne and Foden, and are integrated into their team. And Mahrez has been, again, how he's handled Mahrez as well, and Mahrez, I know, was frustrated in the first, that he wasn't in the regular, and all he did was all these great players got their head down, waited, and he's been, loyal to them. I always thought Manchester City were in control, albeit, as you say, in the first half. But I don't think it was like Lyon, where I think he did get his tactics wrong this time last year. But I'm not a Paris fan.
It must be hard to try and look after these £60 million players, wasn't it? It's ridiculous.
I've got to say,
I don't know how he does it.
I've got to say the other thing that has, I don't know if it's up for debate or not, but I'm watching the refereeing of the Chelsea Real Madrid game, the Paris Manchester City game, the Man United game. It might as well be a different game, because one referee's blowing up if somebody blows on someone, another one's getting absolutely whacked left, right, and centre, and he's saying play on. What the heck VAR is doing to and then we've got Balbuena's West Ham sort of tackle on Ben Chilwell last weekend, and the VAR are going, well, it's just nonsense.
It is. It's two different worlds, isn't it? But I know which world I prefer. I thought the German, I like the German referee.
Same with me.
He just allows things to, it's like the old days. Now, he might let it go a bit too far at times, but I'd rather have that than the other way, where...
I tell you what, Rico, as well, when players know, when they're diving all over, they know, I'm not going to get anything here. Yeah, it's amazing how quickly they get up.
I couldn't agree more. And also, what I like about them, they won't have anything in their ears. They wave them away, and, they're not on first name terms with them like some of our referees. I mean, VAR is an issue that we've talked about, all season, but some of our, and I don't like knocking our officials, but at the moment they're poor. They're poor. It's yellow card for anything, and red cards, as we've seen for ridiculous situations where stupid VAR decisions. They're not living the spirit of the game. Whereas the German referee, I thought, did. It was like I've played this game. I know what's going on here. I know you're trying to get somebody sent off. I'll let that go, blah, blah, blah. I feel they've got a better feeling for the game than some of our officials.
Do you think, a lot of the managers have said, we want a massive input for VAR going forward into next season. Do you ever see it changing, Charlie? Does it have to change? Because the one thing that, to me, VAR needed to do, okay, you got the ball going over the line, is it in the box, etc., was all the fouling at corners when people are pulling each other. And they brought in an extra linesman behind the goal, which never worked. Surely that's the kind of thing that VAR was needed. And they never ever do anything about that.
No, it isn't that sort of, you look back at it but is that not some of the press's fault for vilifying when you were getting penalties, which were penalties?
Yes,
and people would say, and people on the television say, well, if you give a penalty for that, and managers, then you're going to give 10 penalties a game. No, you won't. Not if you start giving penalties and just look at the ball. And if somebody beats you to the ball, that's fine. But why can you get away with something in the penalty area from corners and free kicks that you couldn't in open play? And until that is changed, and of course, I think VAR has got to go back a bit with regard to, because to me, VAR was always going to be brought in for offsides, which were clear and obvious.
Yeah. That,
to me, is absolutely fundamental as well. That's the most important one. The offsides, not for somebody's armpit, not for, and the handball as well. That's got to be clarified, because, there was one. The Newcastle United goal was laughable, you won't want to know. I sent on WhatsApp to a few of my friends when that goal, when Callum Wilson goal it's just laughable.
But nobody knows what handball is. That's the other thing about it. The Pogba one gave a penalty with his hand,
that was a penalty. That was a penalty when. If your hands are there and it hits you, that's not a penalty. But if you go out like Jamie Carragher and Stefan Honshaw used to do, that's what it's trying to stop.
Yeah, but I'm still not even sure. There's a guy the other day, he sort of moved his arm. Oh, no, it's hit.
That was Cesar Azpilicueta.
Yeah.
Against West Ham. As you say, it's hit him here, but then moved his left hand No question. But of course, everyone said that wasn't a penalty.
I don't know. I look at it and I go, I don't know if that's offside. I don't know if that's a penalty. It's the clarification. Anyway.
Well, you do know that there are fouls at corners and free kicks that aren't. You don't. That's not a grey area. But all you've got to do is go back to type and have the balls to stay. And if I give 5 penalties away,
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more because well, you know, as a basketball player, that defenders, they do it all the time now, of
course they do.
They're never looking at the ball. They're just holding and shielding. That, to me, is what VAR was brought in to stamp out. Anyway.
But now, if a referee gave a penalty like that, you get managers saying this is a disgrace. If you give one, you'll give such and such, and then you'll get people.
But it would stop them, though.
That's one of my main gripes.
With me.
There's no art to defending if I've grabbed hold of your shirt. If I'm not looking at, I'm just like that. That's not defending. That's crackers.
I couldn't agree with that. Anyway, agreed. Last one for you, boys. Newcastle take on Arsenal. Rico, is it going to be another win for Brucey?
Well, you remember that I've been writing about it this week. You know, some of the previous games. You remember the one at Highbury in 2001 under Bobby Robson, where Newcastle won. There was a few dodgy decisions, and Thierry Henry and Arsene Wenger went mad at the referee. And Bobby Robson said, "You need to learn how to lose games." You know, one up Arsene's backside. Also, there's a 4-0 to 4-4, wasn't there? There's been some really, you know, tremendous games between the two. The good thing about this one is that, you know, I can actually watch it sitting on the settee as behind it, you know, because hopefully Newcastle are fine now. It's the bottom 3 going down, but yeah, it should be an interesting game. Talking to Malcolm McDonald this week, and you know, I said, you were at that game, weren't you? The 4-4 game. He said, I was. He said, well, I went home at half time. 4-0. He said, I couldn't stand anymore. Couldn't believe it. Got home, it was 4-4.
And Everton, Aston Villa, Charlie. Is it going to be 8th place or better?
Yeah, we play Aston Villa twice in the next. People don't realise last I heard, there's still no date for the rearranged fixture, but that'll be fascinating. I don't like seeing Jack Grealish on in the stands as an England fan and things like that. But yeah, I think it's a good time to play Aston Villa. Maybe a very good time to play Aston Villa twice. As far as Everton concerned, I think they've got West Ham next weekend at the London Stadium. I mean, going back to the Blues, I mean, that was one of the worst games of football with Arsenal. Have you ever seen a game designed? It should have been 0-0. And then Arsenal were hopeless. Absolutely hopeless.
The worst penalty decision as well, wasn't it?
Oh, God. I mean...
Well, it wasn't given, was it? Because offside.
You know, by hook or by crook, it wasn't given. And then, you know, if there was going to be a goal, it was it seemed so right that it was... I mean, nobody ran to Richarlison to celebrate. I think we were everyone was so embarrassed. Even, you know, Carlo Ancelotti should have been 0-0. You know, it was just a...
It wasn't a classic, was it?
It was hardly a classic.
Charlie, tip my hat to you. You said Everton will finish 8th, and they will. Well done.
Well, you never know now with Liverpool again. You know, imploding. If Liverpool, of course, if Liverpool lose at Manchester United, you never know. You know, it's. I think Everton are the 8th best team and possibly the 9th best team, but you know, people say the table never lies. I wonder.
Was that some optimism there from Charlie?
Hey, as a tiny little bit, I should say that if Liverpool lose, or Liverpool beat Manchester United rather, and City win at Palace, then City are the champions. We'll be talking about champions next week. Charlie, thanks a lot, my friend. Rico, thanks a lot.
Have a lovely week, guys. I'll speak to you.
Have a great week. Take care.